keyword.
Hey guys, I'm Tim, and this is the Board Game Rundown. Today, we're going to talk about DC deck building rivals, the Flash versus Reverse Flash. I don't know, a few months ago, I got the Kickstarter I backed for the Multiverse, one of the big DC deck building Kickstarters that just, was like from last year. I am a huge DC deck building fan, have been for over 10 years now because they've been out for a while. And I've never done a review of one of the dual sets. There is the Batman vs. Joker, there's Green Lantern vs. Sinestro, there's this guy. I'm not sure if there's others or not. I have a ton of stuff for DC deck building. Almost everything. And but this is a game I love. I can constantly get to the table, DC deck building that is. But I haven't done a ton with the dual stuff, because usually when I'm playing DC, I'm playing with like 3 or 4 people, sometimes 5, depending on like if we're, because again, I've got enough sets I can play with a ton of players. This is a game that we have house ruled. We've found like the tournament rules. I have played in tournaments. So my history with this game goes way back. I enjoy this game quite a bit. The mechanics are very straightforward. Everybody's got basically their starter deck, which is going to consist of 10 cards. It's going to be 3 vulnerabilities and 7 punches. Punches are going to give you +1 power, which you will use to buy cards or attack your opponent. And then the vulnerabilities do nothing. So they only clog up your hand and they suck. So on your turn, you're going to draw 5 cards and you're going to play your 5 cards to buy a card out of the lineup. Now, the cards in the lineup, there are generally 4 different kinds of cards. There's villains, heroes, superpowers, and equipment. If we were playing like the regular DC deck building game, you could buy a kick for 3 power at any time, but in the confrontation, and the kick also counts as a superpower card. In this version, that card that you always have access to is called Super Speed and has no color, so it doesn't count as a card type. Anyways, we'll get to that in a minute. But there's all these different card types you can buy. They will have different costs down in the bottom. And the types really matter because of your card types are going to combo off of others. So, you might get benefits to playing cards that are heroes or villains or superpowers. So that's important to keep in mind. And then when you're buying, so just because, for example, if I'm Reverse Flash, doesn't mean I can't buy Kid Flash just because I'm a villain. It's like, no. I mean, you might have things where you want to use heroes. You might want to have things where you use villains if you're the Flash. But it's just a kind of a way to note the different kinds of cards. There's also weaknesses, which act differently in this game than they do in some of the other DC deck building games. But for the most part, you don't want to have them, and they're negative victory points. They also stink, just like vulnerabilities. So on my turn in this game, I can choose to either I'm just going to do my turn like normal, where I can buy cards out of the lineup, or I can do a confrontation. If I do a confrontation, I'm specifically going to attack my opponent. Now, my opponent, let's just say I was Reverse Flash, and my opponent is the Flash. You're going to start with 3 cards, and you're going to go with the lowest value one on top, then the 12, then the 15. Okay, and so right now, that top card is sort of my ongoing passive ability. So this would say, first time I play a villain during my turn, I can destroy a card in the lineup and I can draw a card. So that's a nice little engine that keeps like destroying cards and is allowing me to draw cards. If I was playing as the Flash, he makes speedster cards, which is a keyword that you'll see on several cards as we go through. He makes speedster cards cheaper, and then he's got a power where he could discard a superpower to draw 2 cards and then discard 2 cards. Why would you want to discard 2 cards? Well, if you've got a bunch of garbage in your hand, you get rid of those vulnerabilities. I'd trade those 2 vulnerabilities for about any other card in my deck, especially once I've started buying other cards and getting them going. So that's a really good, powerful way to cycle through your deck and go. So if I was attacking him, I would then play all my cards. I would trigger any cards that have the keyword confrontation. I would do that. They get their other ability as well, but it gives you that extra confrontation ability. And then the defending player has the ability to then play any cards that have block ability. Again, it'll be in bold, and it might add to your defense, right? So like if I'm playing cards, I'm trying to get power over 9 to defeat this version of the Flash. So if he plays block cards, he can make it harder. Now in this game, if you have weakness cards, when you draw them, you have to play them on your turn. They have to be played first, and they have an ongoing ability. So that means they stay out in front of you every turn until they are destroyed. And what they do is they literally make your character weaker. They make your power considered one less. So it's easier to destroy, or the cost one less. So it's easier to destroy your opponent's card. So if he had a weakness, this flash would only be 8 to destroy instead of 9. And then that's what we're going to do. You're going to go through, once you destroy that card, if I successfully destroy this card, I would gain it. I'm going to hold on to the victory points. So it's going to sit off to the side, my scoring pile over here. And then now that he's got a new flash card and it's got a new ability. If I get to the third one, again, a new flash card and a new ability. But if I defeat that third one, I win the game instantly. Same thing over here with reverse flash. There's a new card, new ability, new card, new ability. They do ramp up, get more powerful. So there is something to being like, oh, I'm getting beat up on, but now my hero is actually kind of a better version of the one I was using. But the other opponent, your opponent though, is gaining victory points because they're worth a lot more victory points than any of the cards that you're going to get during the game. Some of these are like 0, 1 or 2, I think are most what I've seen. And the weaknesses are 0 points. Your starter cards are 0 points. So this game can end in basically 2 different ways. Somebody defeats all 3 hero or supervillain cards, or the deck runs out. And when the deck, if you go to fill the lineup with 5 cards and you cannot, that ends the game. Then you're going to tally up your victory points on the bottom of your card and that little star icon. Most victory points wins. I have played this game and seen it go to where, boom, the person just defeats the hero. The game I just played, literally, I was rushing trying to defeat my opponent's flash card. At the very end, he was able to cycle through, get rid of the main deck, buy enough cards that we couldn't draw anymore or couldn't fill up the lineup anymore. And then we counted up victory points and he won. Even though I had 2 of his hero cards, he just was able to buy a lot of cards out of the lineup. And so he had that ability. He even had weaknesses, and he still had just done such a good job of populating his deck with like 1 and 2 victory point cards. Those add up, you know, and he was able to win. And that's pretty much the game. The game's very straightforward. You're going to have attacks, you're going to have cards that defend, and you just do what it says on the card. It's all pretty straightforward. Now, the thing is with the game, there can be some things with the timing. So maybe you want to play this card first, or you want to wait. Well, I don't want to play that until I have another villain out, because it's going to say for every villain I've played, or if I've played a speedster, then I can do this, or I get to trigger this ability. And to trigger the speedster ability, because that's unique to this set, you just have to have drawn a card. Like an extra card on your turn, because usually you fill your hand at the end of your turn. So that wouldn't count, right, towards your speedster thing, because that last thing you do is you drop the 5 cards. So yeah, that is basically in a very convoluted way how to play this version of the DC Deck Building Rivals game. The thing I like about it is the speedster mechanic is pretty cool. It adds some interesting things. And then for the most part, I mean, all of these they do a nice job of these Rivals box sets kind of standing alone, but staying true to sort of that DC Deck Builder. Like, they just add a couple rules and you still basically already know how to play. For me, I just needed to understand like 2 keywords, new keywords, and they're easy to find in the rule book. It's not very big. They do a nice turn breakdown on the back of the rule book, which is always appreciated. I threw mine in sleeves because I play DC Deck Builder a lot. So these are just penny sleeves. But as a game, I've literally worn out like the first copy I had because I played that game so much because I really enjoy it. This is a Kickstarter version, so there are some like foily cards mixed in here, which look really cool. I don't know if they're coming in the regular version, so I'm not going to say that they, do or don't. But another thing that I really like about all the DC deck building games is that, short of like the punch and vulnerability art, the weaknesses and the kicks or super speed, all the art's unique, like on all the cards, right? So, like disorienting speed will only ever look like another disorienting speed card. It's not going to look like Kid Flash or Negative Flash or Godspeed or any of those, right? So there's all this variety of art and art styles, and the game for me is always just really vibrant. I enjoy checking all of that out. Again, if you're a fan of Flash, he kind of famously has like this really wild and kind of crazy rogues gallery. And so it's kind of fun to see those characters all pop up. I mean, even if you watch the show, like the WB show, you'll see characters you recognize, and they do a really nice job of kind of covering all of that. Again, DC Deck Building is one of my all-time favorite deck builders. I know by today's standards, it might be, I don't want to say simplistic. It's very straightforward, but there's tons of other deck builders now that do things kind of similarly, but some people prefer over this style. I don't mind. There's room for both in my heart, and I can live with that. So, but I will say I really like the artwork. I really like the gameplay. I think the couple of mechanics that they add make this feel thematic to the speed. Like I feel like Flash and Reverse Flash, like it's a real battle, right? And it makes sense. So they did a really nice job with that. So no complaints. This is more of the same for me in a good way. Like, oh, more, but this is seasoned a little bit differently. You know, it's like getting pizza. I love pizza. Like, oh, this time I want pizza with bacon on it. This time I want pizza with all the meats on it. So I'm just going around. I'm getting just different flavors and varieties of a dish that I love. And so this continues to do that. So I'm going to give this game a rating. Normally on the Board Game Rundown, we would all give our scores and we would rate 1 to 10, just like we do on BGG. We'd average them all together and that would be the score for the Board Game Rundown. But it's just me. So it's just my score averaged together with me. So gosh, I think I'm going to give this an 8. I think this is a really solid outing for me. Again, this is a style of game that I enjoy quite a bit. I think that their Rivals series is really good. I think that the characters all play uniquely and do different things, and each set adds its own thing. And I think it's really fun. I really enjoy it. It levels the playing ground a little bit. Like I was playing somebody who had never played DC Deck Builder before, and I played it a ton, and I'm not bad at this game, and he dusted me. He played really well. I just couldn't get some of the stuff going that I wanted to do. Maybe I need to try a different strategy. Maybe it was bad luck. Either way, I don't care. I'd happily play it again. And so for me, I think that's also nice. You could sit down with an experienced player and still be competitive, you know, and you can still, like somebody new to the game can still feel like they've got a chance. And I think that's nice because nobody wants to get the brakes beaten off of them when they're learning a game for the first time because that can really sully their experience. But you also don't want to be like, oh, well, I didn't even really try to beat him. Like, no, I was trying to win. I was attacking the heck out of him. I was pushing my luck a little bit, but it's kind of the fun of it too, though, right? Because there was times where it paid off and there was times where I'd missed by like 1 or 2. Or he had a block, just enough of a block to stop me from taking him out. And I thought that was really cool. Really enjoyed it. I love this DC stuff. I'm really glad that even 10 years later, they're still making more of it. And I'm going to keep being here for it. So if you found this video helpful, please consider liking, subscribing, doing all the things. If anybody's got any questions about DC Deck Builder, ask in the comments. I'm your guy. I love this game. I know a lot about it, and what I don't know, I'll happily find out because I'll be like, oh, I didn't know that. So if you found this video helpful, yeah, let us know. Also, we have a very active Discord and Facebook group. You should hop on, hang out, interact with us there. And we do have a Patreon. So if you'd like to support the show financially, please do it there if you can, if that's your jam. We'd love it. We're going to keep making great videos for you. If you can't, totally understand. Just give us a thumbs up, thumbs down. Let me know, what's your favorite deck building game? What's your favorite DC character? Pick on me for loving DC Deck Builder like the guys do, my normal co-host. Actually, they haven't played it. They were all gone today, but if they had played it, I think that they would have liked this one. I really do. Maybe I'll be wrong. We can do a video and they can tell me, you idiot, because they're really nice to me. But yeah. Let us know what you think. I can't wait to hear from you. For the Board Game Rundown, I've been Tim.